Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is the second and probably the last part of Idol X fan love story. I hope you saw part 1. If not, go watch it first and then come back for this one, so you can understand the story. Are you ready? Let's start. Jungkook thought it would be just one night. That was the rule. No strings, no texts, no names beyond the basics. A pretty fan, a private room, a few hours of indulgence. And then the spotlight would call him back, and the memory would fade like sweat on skin. But that didn't happen. Instead, Taehyung stayed in his head like a chorus he couldn't get out of. The sound of his moans, the way his fingers had trembled on Jungkook's skin, that sweet, wrecked expression when he came, whispering Jungkook's name like it meant something. Jungkook couldn't forget him. Not the way he looked up with those big starry eyes. Not the warmth of his laugh after, when they shared water and laid tangled on the couch. Not the soft kiss on his shoulder as he left without asking for anything. Not even a selfie. It messed with him. The next night, Jungkook was on a new stage in a new city, hips rolling and crowd roaring. But something felt off. When the lights dimmed and he gripped the mic, he caught himself scanning the front row for him. The fan with the soft brown curls, flushed cheeks, and bitten lips. But Taehyung wasn't there. Of course he wasn't. He was probably back home. Back to college, back to reality, telling his friends about the night he got ruined by Jungkook. And maybe that was all it was meant to be. Still, that night after the show, Jungkook found himself alone in his hotel suite, staring at the ceiling with a frown. He hadn't even taken anyone else backstage. He didn't want to. He sat up, grabbed his phone, and called his manager. "Hey," he said, voice low. "Remember that VIP contest winner? From Seoul?" There was a pause. "The cute one with the moles and the thighs?" Jungkook rolled his eyes. "Yes, that one. Taehyung, can you find him?" "Find him for what?" Jungkook hesitated. I want to see him again." Another pause, then a sigh. "You're making this complicated, JK. "I don't care," Jungkook snapped. "Send him a first-class ticket. Tell him I want him with me on tour." Taehyung was stunned when the call came in. He had just returned to campus, trying to act normal, trying to forget the way his body still ached in all the right places. He hadn't told anyone about the night except Bogum, who screamed into a pillow and demanded every filthy detail. But deep down, Taehyung had already told himself it was a one-time thing. You were a warm body, that's all. So when a staff member called to say Jungkook personally requested him to join the next leg of the tour, he nearly dropped his phone. "Wait, me? Why?" "He didn't say, but he already booked your flight." Taehyung sat in silence. His heart screamed yes, but his brain whispered, "Be careful." Still, when the car arrived at the airport the next morning, he was already waiting by the curb, bag packed, passport in hand. The moment they reunited backstage in the Tokyo Dome, Taehyung froze. Jungkook stood across the room, black hoodie up, hair damp, a water bottle in one hand. When their eyes met, something shifted. It wasn't lust. It wasn't just need. It was relief, like Jungkook had been holding his breath without realizing it. And Taehyung was the heir. "You really came," Jungkook said quietly. "You really invited me." Neither moved for a beat. Then Jungkook crossed the room and pulled Taehyung into a tight, unexpected hug. His hands gripped the back of Taehyung's hoodie, fingers curling, like he'd missed the feeling of someone soft and warm against his chest. Taehyung melted into him, but deep down doubt gnawed at him. He whispered, "Why did you bring me here, Jungkook?" Jungkook pulled back, looking at him with unreadable eyes. "Because I couldn't stop thinking about you." That answer should have made Taehyung melt, and it did mostly, but the tiny voice in his head still asked, "Is it my body he wants? Or just the convenience of comfort between shows?" And the worst part? He was falling for Jungkook. Hard. Taehyung stared out of the plane window, his heart pounding in rhythms he couldn't control. The view below faded into clouds, but his thoughts stayed grounded in the memory of Jungkook, idol, fantasy, and the man who had kissed him breathless under golden hotel lights. He had almost convinced himself it was just a wild, unforgettable dream. But then came the call. A woman's voice, soft yet professional, from Jungkook's team. "Mr. Kim Taehyung, Jungkook has requested your presence for the upcoming tour. Hotel arrangements have been made. Please confirm your availability." The words had left him stunned. Why him again? He had said yes. Of course he had. His heart wouldn't let him say no. Now, sitting in business class with trembling fingers, Taehyung wondered if he was flying toward heaven or heartbreak. Jungkook stood backstage in Tokyo, black ripped jeans hugging his thighs, sleeveless tank clinging to his glistening skin. He had just wrapped rehearsals, but his mind wasn't on the set list. It was on the boy with stars in his eyes and sin on his tongue. He hadn't expected to miss Taehyung. It was supposed to be a one-night thrill, wild, reckless, forgettable. But nothing about Taehyung was forgettable. Not the way he moaned his name like a prayer, not how he had trembled beneath him and whispered, "You've always been my dream." Jungkook had kissed dozens. He had slept with a few, but none of them had left behind a phantom warmth on his bedsheets. None of them had him pulling up a fan account in the dead of night just to look at their smile again. It was maddening. He didn't want to believe he was attached. But when his team had offered to arrange an escort for the after-party in Japan, he'd snapped, "Call Taehyung." When they finally locked eyes in the hotel suite, it was awkward at first. Taehyung stood near the minibar, hands nervously brushing his thighs. "I didn't expect you to call again." Jungkook leaned against the wall, arms crossed, eyes raking over the boy who had haunted him for weeks. "I didn't expect to want to." A heavy silence settled between them, thick with tension and unspoken hunger. "You don't have to pretend," Taehyung said quietly. "If this is just about pleasure, I get it." Jungkook's jaw clenched. He walked forward slowly, crowding Taehyung against the counter. "But what if it's not?" he murmured. His fingers brushed a lock of hair from Taehyung's forehead. "What if I just miss the way you breathe when I kiss you?" Taehyung's breath hitched. Their mouths met, softer this time. Not frantic, not desperate. It was a confession masked as a kiss. As the night unfolded, they didn't rush. Jungkook touched him like he was memorizing, not claiming. Taehyung whispered his name like it meant more now. The stares were longer. The words, when spoken, were heavy with meaning. In between tangled sheets and whispered gasps, Taehyung stared at the ceiling, heart racing. He was falling, hard, and he didn't know if Jungkook would catch him or let him shatter. The next few days passed like a slow-burning dream. Taehyung followed Jungkook on tour from Tokyo to Seoul to Bangkok, tucked away in the shadows just behind the spotlight. He watched from VIP sections during concerts, hidden behind tinted van windows, seated beside staff in the dressing rooms as the star transformed from man to myth on stage. Every night, Jungkook returned to him, sometimes with laughter from a successful show, other times with heavy silence, sweat still clinging to his skin, fingers trembling as he reached for Taehyung like he was his only anchor in a world spinning too fast. But as the days went on, something shifted. It was subtle at first. Jungkook becoming quieter after meet and greets, his phone lighting up with messages from producers, stylists, journalists, women with perfect smiles, men with hidden intentions. Taehyung heard the whispers behind the walls of dressing rooms. Who's the kid always with Jungkook's team lately? Another groupie? Probably just a body he likes to warm his bed with on tour. It stung. He told himself not to care, but he did. One night, after a concert in Singapore, they returned to the suite. Jungkook was still glowing from the adrenaline, wiping sweat from his jaw with a towel. Taehyung sat quietly on the edge of the bed, lips pursed. "You didn't say a word on the way back," Jungkook said, tossing the towel onto the chair. Taehyung looked up slowly. "Did you tell your team who I am?" Jungkook paused. "They don't need to know." Taehyung swallowed. "Right? Because I'm just someone who warms your bed. Right?" Jungkook flinched, eyes narrowing. "Is that what you think?" "I don't know what to think, Jungkook. One night you're looking at me like I'm the only person in the world, and the next day, you walk 10 steps ahead of me in public like I don't exist." The silence stretched too long. "I didn't mean to hurt you," Jungkook said, voice low. This life is complicated. I can't hold your hand in front of cameras. I can't protect you from what this world would do to someone like you if they knew you were with me." Taehyung's voice cracked. "So you're protecting me by hiding me?" "No," Jungkook said. "I'm protecting us, but I'm screwing it up, aren't I?" Taehyung looked away. His heart felt like it was tearing apart, quietly, cleanly, like paper in someone else's hands. "I didn't come here for your fame," he whispered. "I came here for the boy who made my heart ache from a poster on my wall." Jungkook stepped closer, his voice barely a breath. "And I asked you here because I couldn't stop dreaming about the boy who kissed me like I was human." Their lips met again, but it wasn't the same. There was tension now, uncertainty wrapped around passion. Taehyung gave in to Jungkook's touch, but his heart guarded itself. Later, while Jungkook slept with his arm draped over his waist, Taehyung stared at the ceiling, wondering if love with a star could ever exist in daylight, or if it only lived in the shadows of backstage rooms and soundproof hotel suites. The next morning, Taehyung slipped out of bed before the sun had risen. Jungkook was still asleep, lips slightly parted, hair tousled against the pillow. He looked peaceful, unbothered, untouched by the storm brewing inside Taehyung's chest. Taehyung watched him for a long minute. He gently brushed his fingers along Jungkook's cheekbone, memorizing the features of the man who had once felt like a fantasy. But reality was far colder. Fame didn't leave space for fairy tales. And maybe he was just a chapter in Jungkook's whirlwind tour life, an intermission between shows, a beautiful body to ease the loneliness of endless cities and empty rooms. By the time Jungkook stirred and reached for him, the sheets were cold, and Taehyung was gone. Back in Seoul, weeks passed. Jungkook threw himself into work, new choreography, interview after interview, preparing for a comeback. But it all blurred together now. His favorite food tasted bland. The hotel rooms felt too big. Even the stage, once his refuge, now echoed with a strange kind of silence. He had never realized how much Taehyung's presence had filled the quiet. The way the boy hummed while brushing his hair. How he leaned on Jungkook's shoulder during flights. How his laughter made even the dullest green room feel like home. And now all of it was gone. His staff noticed the shift. "Hyung, are you okay?" his manager asked gently one afternoon. Jungkook didn't answer. Instead, later that night, he did something he hadn't done in years. He broke protocol. He went through the agency's private contact list, found the intern who'd arranged Taehyung's original tour travel, and asked for a favor. "Find him," he said simply. "I don't care what it takes." Taehyung stared at the email on his laptop in disbelief. From JJK staff official. Subject: Travel itinerary. Requested invitation from John Jungkook. Mr. Kim Taehyung. Per John Jungkook's personal request, you are invited to join him on the remainder of his Asia tour with all expenses covered. A private suite and personal access will be provided. Please respond at your earliest convenience. He asks for no cameras, no obligations, only your presence. His hands trembled. He should have deleted it. He should have ignored it and protected the fragile wall he'd built around his heart. But instead, he packed his bag. Jungkook was backstage in Tokyo again when he saw him. Taehyung stood quietly by the mirrors, dressed in soft beige and black, hair pushed back, lips pressed into a tight line. Their eyes met and everything stopped. The noise of the world, the heat of the lights, the chaos of production. It all vanished in that moment. Jungkook crossed the space between them slowly, cautiously, like Taehyung might disappear if he stepped too hard. "You came," he said. Taehyung looked up at him with guarded eyes. "I don't know why I did." Jungkook's voice cracked. "I'm glad you did." A long pause stretched between them. "Why now?" Taehyung asked, barely a whisper. "Why bring me back?" Jungkook inhaled deeply. "Because I was a fool. I thought I needed silence after the stage. I thought I needed space. But all I needed was you." "You say that now," Taehyung said, biting his lip. "But I'm still afraid that when this tour ends, I'll go back to being nothing to you." Jungkook stepped closer, eyes burning with something raw and real. "Taehyung, do you think I'd risk my whole reputation? Bring you here? Break all my rules? Just for another night in bed?" Taehyung looked away, tears threatening to spill. Jungkook gently cupped his cheek. "I don't want your body anymore. I want your mornings, your coffee orders, your moods, your dreams. I want to stop performing for the world and just exist with you." For the first time in days, Taehyung allowed himself to breathe. "Then prove it," he whispered. "Not with words, with time." Jungkook smiled. "I will." And that night, when the lights of Tokyo dimmed and the city fell quiet, Taehyung didn't undress for lust. He undressed for love. Jungkook's hotel suite was silent, but it pulsed with tension. Taehyung stood by the window, arms folded across his chest, heart racing after Jungkook's confession. The lights from the city bathed his skin in a soft golden hue. Behind him, Jungkook watched silently, shirt slightly unbuttoned, veins tense, gaze fixed on the curve of Taehyung's back. "You still think I just want your body?" Jungkook asked in a low, husky voice. Taehyung didn't answer. He bit his lip instead, fighting the heat already crawling down his spine. Jungkook stepped closer, slow, deliberate. I could have had anyone, Tae. But every time I close my eyes, it's your voice I hear. Your moans. Your laugh. You. Taehyung turned slowly, lips parted. Then prove it. That was all Jungkook needed. He crossed the distance and captured Taehyung's mouth in a deep, needy kiss. One that curled heat straight into their cores. Jungkook's hands were in Taehyung's hair, on his waist, gripping like he was afraid Taehyung might vanish again. Taehyung tugged Jungkook's shirt off, fingers brushing over defined abs, making Jungkook groan softly. You're unreal, he whispered against his lips. I'm yours, Jungkook growled, and scooped him up into his arms, tossing him onto the king-sized bed. Clothes scattered like autumn leaves. Jungkook kissed every inch of Taehyung's body like he was memorizing it, worshipping him like a man starved. His lips lingered on Taehyung's thighs, his tongue teasing the sensitive skin until Taehyung was writhing, gasping his name. You drive me insane, Jungkook whispered against his inner thigh. Every time I see you smile, I want to ruin you with love. Taehyung pulled him up, lips crashing into Jungkook's again, legs wrapping around him. Then do it. The next moments were fire, bodies moving in rhythm, breathless moans echoing through the suite, skin on skin, desperate touches and whispered names. Jungkook made love to him slow first, deep, controlled, gazes locked, then fast and intense, like he couldn't hold back the storm inside. Taehyung clung to him, biting down on his shoulder as waves of pleasure crashed over him. Jungkook growled, voice husky and dark, his hand trailing down Taehyung's back to squeeze his ass roughly. I tried to stay away. I tried, Taehyung. But all I could think about was the way you sounded begging under me that night. Taehyung whimpered, head falling back as Jungkook licked a stripe down his neck, sucking hard at the base until Taehyung was writhing, grinding against him shamelessly. I missed you, Taehyung breathed, nails digging into Jungkook's arms. God, I missed this. Jungkook looked up, lips swollen and wet, smirking. That mouth of yours, he whispered, crawling up between Taehyung's legs. You talk too much, baby. I think I need to shut you up. He slid down again, parting Taehyung's thighs, and dipping between them with the kind of hunger that made Taehyung cry out. Tongue flicking, licking, teasing, then devouring. Taehyung's fingers twisted in the sheets, eyes rolling back as Jungkook made him fall apart with just his mouth. Taehyung was still trembling when Jungkook came back up, licking his lips. So fucking sweet. I want you, Taehyung panted, pulling him down. I want to feel you. Now. Jungkook didn't wait. He kissed Taehyung breathless again while lining himself up. He pushed in slowly, savoring the stretch, the tight heat that pulled a deep groan from his throat. Taehyung clung to him, legs locked around his waist, breath hitching as he was filled. Jungkook started thrusting deep, rough, rolling his hips with filthy control. The headboard slammed against the wall. The sounds, slapping skin, ragged moans, whispered names, filled the room. Tell me you're mine, Jungkook growled, thrusting harder. Say it, Tae. I'm yours, Taehyung cried out, voice broken and desperate. I'm fucking yours. Louder. I'm yours, Jungkook. That pushed him over the edge. Jungkook lost control, slamming into him mercilessly, chasing both their highs. Taehyung came with a scream, trembling under Jungkook's weight, and a few more thrusts later, Jungkook spilled inside him with a deep, guttural moan, collapsing against his chest. They lay there, slick with sweat, panting in each other's arms. Taehyung ran his fingers through Jungkook's damp hair, voice soft and raw. Was it still just a one-night stand, Jungkook? Jungkook kissed his chest, his neck, then his lips. No, he whispered. It's a forever stand now. The end. Hope you enjoy it. Please come back for more Taekook fan fiction stories. Love you all.